Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons, back with some more signature guitar-like goodness for you from one of the all-times great, a rock and roll pioneer, the main axeman behind the awesome stereo juggernaut that is AC/DC, Mr. Angus Young. Four licks in ascending difficulty, exploring a few different aspects of Angus Young's lead guitar playing style. For a broader strokes version coupled with a reaction, check out that informal analysis or critique with the eye up there. To clear things up, all of these licks are in standard tuning. I think AC/DC sometimes played in E flat or just detuned a little bit, but standard 440 here just to keep things more simple. The tabs including PDF, PNG and guitar profiles are up on patreon.com/JBF Music if you want them. If you enjoy this sort of thing or the content I put in general, then please do let me know with a like and a comment. Both really help grow the channel. Any form of interaction is great for the algorithm, as well as the visibility of this specific video. It makes it pop up in searches and easier for other players to find the sort of content that they're looking for. If you haven't already, feel free to give subscribe a click and do the enable all notifications thing to appease the ever-changing whims of the YouTube overlords and let them know that actually you'd like to see a bit more of this kind of stuff. Also, a huge shout out to John Rambo for their continued support on Patreon. I am doing a wee bit of an experiment here. This video is focusing on the technique and then there'll be a separate one on the music theory, which when it's live I'll link to with the eye up there. Let me know what you think about this system. But let's just crack on, eh? Alright, it's that groovy little diddle from Hell's Bells. You might want to use your fingers for an authentic softer sound. I'd consider rolling the volume down a little bit and possibly the tone pot as well. For more on pot control using Uli John Roth as a case study, check out the little eye up there. I've opted for my first and second fingers here for picking the strings. Maybe even implying a tiny bit of palm muting if you feel like it. I am rolling my volume down, although I don't have the heaviest sound. I can clean it up by playing softer, but still rolling the volume down brings it up more. So I'm fretting these notes with my third and fourth fingers because I'm lazy and I like to avoid position shifts wherever possible. So for the next dyad, I'm just moving my third finger down to that 7th fret. For more common dyads, this is kind of 2-note mini chords, check out the little eye up there. But what we're going to do is then bend this one. With this bend, I'm sort of aiming for just shy of a semitone in both strings, maybe kind of like a quarter tone. It's not quite as much as a semitone that would be. So when in doubt here, just underbend and it's still going to sound good. After that, you're returning it to pitch, pulling off. So I can't get it to show on the tab that you're pulling off to both on both strings, but that's what you want to do. So just flick both fingers so you get both those notes heard underneath, right? As a side note, this seems to get tabbed as a slide quite often. And you can just slide up from here, a semitone, to the 8th fret and back down. But it sounds to me like Angus is doing a bluesy bend. And upon listening to this more closely, Angus really slurs this line, which I think just gives it that vibe and makes it sit so well in the song. Covers, and indeed, how I played it before, listening to this more closely was more akin to... So it's more articulated, but also a bit more rigid and maybe a bit stuffy. And I think not as good as the way he does it, at least in this context. But yeah, here what you want to do is bar that 5th fret with your first finger. Like I say, flick your 3rd and 4th fingers to get a nice strong pull-off sound. We're back up to these 7th frets, and you want to play this kind of staccato, so keep it nice and short. A little quarter tone bend with this barred 1st finger on those 5th frets. And I'm playing these next 2 notes with my thumb, so that's 7th fret, and then a really quick hammer from the 5th to the 7th, and add vibrato. Main takeaways here are double stops, small quarter tone bends, and dynamic playing. Pot control, possibly using your fingers. Okay, I'm doing this a bit differently as an experiment, so do let me know what you think. Rather than dive into the theory here, what I'm going to do is just focus on technique for the next lick. Fear not, the theory will come along in a separate video, and I'll link to that with a little eye up there, as well as the pinned comment as soon as it's live. Some beautifully raunchy double stops. I think Angus was going for a pedal steel type sound solo, because here the notes just really glide into each other. But quickly bend both of these notes up by a quarter tone, and then release. You want to sustain this and then bend it up again. Again by that kind of quarter tone, but slower the second time. Okay, so quick bend, back down, bend up more slowly. So I think this double stop here might actually just be this note on the G string, so that's why I put this one on the 5th fret on the B in brackets. Do what you think sounds right, either pick them both or just pick this one. We're then picking the next 3 notes. A nice slow quarter tone bend on that 5th fret. A fairly big position shift here. The easiest way I found to do it is just to jump down like this and use my 3rd finger here. You want to hit this ideally with a partial harmonic. So it's a case of finding the sweet spot on your guitar and hitting with just enough of the pick that it screams just a little bit. You bend it up a semitone at the same time. I'll try and get a better one there. Release that back to pitch and then pick this note. Another one of these awesome semi-pinch harmonics in this 3rd fret with a quarter tone bend. And pull off to the open string. Slide into the 2nd fret from kind of nowhere. I'm using my 1st finger. You want to hammer on the 4th fret. I'm using my 2nd finger here because it makes the next part easier. You want to then bend this, so you're going to slide, hammer, bend. You want to let this ring out as you play this 5th fret on the E string. Now at this point we're still kind of slowly bending this 4th fret up, and it only really hits the target pitch as we hit this 5th fret on the B string. So rather than this going straight up to pitch, you're kind of still bending it as you pick that note and hitting pitch around the time you hit that B string. Okay? Then what you're doing is releasing this 4th fret down to pitch and pulling off to the 2nd fret. The main takeaways here are sounding a bit like slide playing, double stops, those semi-pinched harmonics and dirty bends, where it sounds a bit like pure filth, but it gets tidied up just enough at the end that sounds just amazing. The Dorian mode, Mixolydian, and mixing the major and minor tonalities, but we'll go into that more properly in the aforementioned theory lesson. Okay, bending and adding vibrato is a tough task to say the least. I've done a separate tutorial on that, which you can get with the eye up there in the corner. But for a wide Angus style vibrato, maybe try pulling the strings down. So that's what we've got here. 5th fret, you're bending up by a tone, so you're aiming for here. And then add in that vibrato. So bend up to pitch, hold it so it's stable, and then bring in your vibrato, right? Bar your first finger over the E and the B strings and let these two notes ring into each other. When you play the 6th fret, either with your 3rd or 4th finger, that finger will likely mute out the E string, which is ideal because it means it stops ringing out. Now, I hear this next bend as a pre-bend, so I'd bend it by a semitone first, hit the string, then return it to pitch. Again, it's really getting in that great blues slide guitar sound that we had some of in the last lick as well. Pick these two notes, then hit this double stop. Add in just enough vibrato to make it sizzle, so you don't want it over the top. You don't want it too subtle. You just want it to kind of sizzle and kind of spit in the pan at you. One of those semi-pinched harmonics. Play the next two notes quite staccato, cutting their duration short and adding vibrato on this last one here. We've got these two notes, another one of these partial harmonics with a cheeky little quarter tone bend. Again, keeping it kind of staccato and short, picking these three notes, adding vibrato. You might want to pan mute these lower notes in this part as well, so there's 6 to 3 on the E string. Obviously that you don't want to pan mute the kind of semi-harmonic. And then these ones here, you might want to employ a bit of light pan muting, up to yourself really. Finishing it off with that same semi-harmonic quarter tone bend, kind of staccato note. The combination of techniques just really makes it pop, doesn't it? The main takeaways here are a few of the usual culprits, which as a side note are a great way of building a dictionary for licks in the style of. So we got some of that fake slide playing, that pre-bend with the wide vibrato, double stop, semi-pinched harmonics, letting the notes ring into each other, and just a little bit of some snappy staccato phrasing. Okay, well there were a lot of note manipulations in the last lick. The speed boost here and keeping nice steady, controlled vibrato on the bend, to me makes this lick the toughest of the bunch. We've got a tone bend. Maybe mute it for a fraction of a second just so you don't hear it go back to pitch, so you don't want this. You want to... And then when we bend it again, you bring that nice steady vibrato, okay? Same kind of muting the bend idea when you return it to pitch and then bend it back up by a tone. You want to pick these next two notes, pull off, semitone bend or a quarter tone if you prefer. Then you want to play that 5th fret, same bend idea, then back to pitch, pull off, and you're hitting this note twice. I would say with these little bends at high speed, the way I would probably play it up at tempo, yeah, the first time bending I would probably use my 2nd finger, because it's just a semitone or kind of quarter tone. You don't need it to reinforce the bend that much. Having said that, the second time it comes when we bend it up and pull it off, I would probably use my 3rd finger. Now this isn't really here or there. If you use your 3rd finger for both of them, or your 2nd finger for both of them, it doesn't really matter too much, just as long as it sounds good. I just wanted to go over that because for whatever reason my hands are telling me they want to play it that way, so I thought it'd be worthwhile explaining it. But alright, let's consolidate that final lick, and if you're still with me, a shout out to the Lick Squad Elite, you guys rock. But the main takeaways are the wide vibrato, the fast runs, pentatonic scales, which you may have been noticed are the backbones of these licks. Click there for Back in Black's best riffs complete with tabs and slow demos. This has been Signature Guitar Licks, that's the playlist there. But yeah, hit subscribe to keep up to date with the channel, leave me a comment, check out the tabs on my Patreon, and enable all notifications by ringing that little bell on the side if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.